Hello, everyone. Welcome to this pick a card reading today. The topic at hand is what phase is ending in your life. And there are two aspects to each reading: what phase of your life is coming to an end and what door will be opened in its place. Okay, so these readings today will be represented by the Death card. Okay, the ultimate symbol for letting go, for endings, and for rebirth, essentially for transformation. Okay, so there are three decks to choose from today. This first deck is from the ZODIAC Tarot. I'll let you get a good look at this. This is group number 1 with the ZODIAC Tarot. The second group today is from the Modern Witch Tarot deck. I'll let you take a good look at this one. This is group number 2, and group number 3 is from the Naked Heart Tarot. So these are your options today. You can always pause the video, really tune into what card, what pile, what group you're most drawn to energetically. Maybe it's some images are sticking out on one of these cards, that a symbol that really resonates with you. Pick the one or ones, plural, that resonate with you the most, and hop down to the description box and jump to your reading. I'll see you there, my friends. What's up, group number 1? We're going to hop right into your reading. What phase is ending in your life? There are two major aspects to this: the phase that's ending or that's coming to an end. I guess that's the same thing. And what door will be opened in its place. Okay, so it's really clear that in some way this phase that's ending is going to affect how you make finances or how you make money. And another layer to this, it could be a symbol, the pentacles we're seeing could be a symbol for just how prosperous you feel overall. It seems like you guys have been on some sort of journey. Okay, with the Hierophant, I would be as bold to say that if you haven't been being mentored in some case, and like learning some if you haven't had some sort of mentor in your life specifically around the area of finances, and that phase is coming to an end, and now you're going to be in the field of like being your own boss, or you've gone through the trainings that you need to go through, and now you're going to like be starting finally starting this new position or whatever it is. I feel like for a majority of you, it's very clear that you've been on some sort of spiritual journey and some sort of death of your ego, death of how you've known yourself to be up to this point in time, your reality. It seems like things have just been crumbling. Your moon phase, your Moonology Oracle card, literally says the end of a tough cycle approaches. Okay, and it's also in the sign of Capricorn. Okay, so maybe in some way your connection to your money or finances has inspired like a spiritual journey. When we first sometimes when people first come into like spirituality, it's through the lens of like law of attraction. So I'm wondering if to some degree this could all just be symbolic for feeling like you don't have control over your life, or feeling that things can't get better than this, or feeling that you're always going to get the, blunt end of the stick, or, and I wouldn't say that you guys are maybe necessarily like negative people or like pessimistic people. I feel like for the most part, what I'm getting from this group is that you tend to be pretty optimistic, but you guys are just working with some karma, right? That doesn't just belong to you. It's familial karma. It's, the same thing as ancestral karma. It's planetary karma. But it seems like you guys went through some sort of, crumbling of yourself, your identity as you knew it. And there's a beautiful rebirth that's coming. The Queen of Pentacles represents someone that she's not just concerned. It's not just concerned with like money, but it's concerned with generosity in its totality, and extending to others whatever it is that we have to offer. Those things like feeding others what we can. And I can't help but look and see that the Queen is looking at these 3 other people here. And it's almost like she's overseeing these people. It's almost like she learned all of these lessons over here, and now she's going to be extending and giving these things. So I am getting like teacher vibes for some of you. We do have activate here, which talks about like what happens after a period of like unrest or unease, or like a period of pause where it feels like not much is maybe moving on the outside. This is what kind of gives me the indication that that you've been going through a lot of internal learnings, internal upgrades. It's especially reiterated by this. I'm hearing some of you could even be going down like rabbit holes, like conspiracy theories, etc. And like seeing how that's like maybe not really getting you anywhere, just like really deciding. It's like a line has been drawn and you're really deciding who it is that you want to be. And you've learned a lot. I feel like you guys are very intuitive naturally. Very wise beings naturally, to like show up as the queen emerging from this and not like the page or the knight, you know? And so the queen just offers what it is that she has in overflow. And I feel like you guys have an overflow, like a huge storehouse of like spiritual knowing, spiritual knowledge, like a very seamless and authentic connection to your higher self, to the realms of spirituality. I do feel like you guys are an older soul, so this is not your first rodeo in like a human form, or in just like a humanoid form. It doesn't have to be that you've taken all your births on earth, but I do feel like you guys are pretty wise. But yeah, I was saying I can't help but see that it's almost like she's overseeing this group of people. So again, whether you are someone that is like this applies to your job, or this just applies to just you being a teacher in some way, right? It seems like you've been going through a lot of learnings, and I am getting the sense of like overall, whether it's a field of spirituality or, you know, some sort of other field that seems unrelated, it's kind of like a rite of passage. You're going through some sort of initiation where you were the student, you were learning a lot, you were gathering knowledge and know-how from other people, and now you're going to be extending that in your own unique way, right? Where you're relying on your own inner knowing, your own intuition, your own wisdom above that from other people, right? I feel like there might have been some reflecting too that's been going on. Like you've been reflecting on everything that's led you up to this point in your life, like deep reflection I'm getting of like the choices that you've made, the decisions that you've made, and everything that's led you to where you are. And so even though I feel like it's maybe not been the easiest journey in your life, like the past however long you've been alive, I feel like you wouldn't change it. And there's just a lot of reflection I'm getting, and a lot of recognition of everything being perfect as it has been, and just really learning from those challenging aspects of your life. But this is like a major like mark in your journey, I feel, where the scales are really tipping, and you're going from like, it's almost like going from apprentice to like, I don't know the word for what's after the apprentice, but you're going from like the learner to the teacher. And it's like teachers are always learning, like, don't get me wrong, but this is definitely like, I feel like there's a fire that's going to be lit under you if you don't already feel it, boiling. And it's like it's interesting if you look at these characters, like the queen is looking forward, the Hierophant's looking back. So again, it's like extracting wisdom from everything you've been through and going on this spiritual journey. And like even death is looking at the direction of what's like ending into what's beginning, what's to come. And so all very beautiful, a lot of symbology here for sure. But I just want to finish off and say that if you guys like don't end up, wow, that was the biggest brain fart. Even if it's not your intention to like make money from this, it's like, I am getting that it wouldn't hurt to find some sort of platform or practical way to share everything you've been learning, because I definitely am seeing that you're here to impact people. You're here to directly like influence people through the things that you've learned. You're here to be a teacher. You're here to share these things. And even if it's not something that you like want to put a lot of pressure on yourself to like be the end all be all of like how you make money, I do want to say I am seeing quite a lot of potential for you to like become like even more prosperous on a financial level through sharing these things, and through like extending your natural gifts and talents into your community. And yeah, being a teacher in some sort of way, whether it's like, okay, how can I like be the embodiment of these teachings? Like, even if it's like a yoga teacher, or like you just teach breath work on the weekends, or, you know, you're just like, recording like 5-minute YouTube videos or recording TikTok videos where you're sharing just like what you've learned from your unique lens. I feel like there's a lot of like prosperous things that will come into your field, because, you know, the more you emanate, the brighter you are, the more that you share wisdom, which is like essentially we're all here walking each other home, right? Walking each other back to unity. The more that you share your piece of the puzzle, the more you radiate, and it's like your magnetism is increasing. So opportunities will come out of left field that seem like they have nothing to do with like, oh, I'm just like uploading videos on TikTok or something. It seems unrelated, but it's 1,000% directly related to just how much you've grown, and it's related to how much you're willing to share. It's like the universe is like, okay, this is a vessel this is an endless vessel. This is an instrument of the divine. So I'm just going to keep giving this person more wisdom. I'm going to keep giving them more things to share. And then, it's like as naturally as new challenges come into your life, or new, I shouldn't say challenges, but as new, like, it's like, okay, you've been doing something for to on one level, and it's like as your audience grows, it's like, okay, now I need these like more resources to be able to accommodate more people, or more people are showing up to your class, something like that. It's like the resources will always be granted unto you as you're expanding, right? It's just like, it's all you, right? But this is beautiful. I really do feel that there's a lot of potential in this direction you're going, and share is the main message here. And yeah, don't question your own inner authority. It's kind of like on this journey we're all on, friends. It's like, how can we expect to become that higher self? And, I believe it's at 6th density and above. How can we expect to, really merge with that version of us that already exists if we're still always looking to outside opinions? So you're definitely in the phase of your journey. The phase that's ending is you questioning your own inner authority, your own connection to spirituality, kind of like this naive sense that everyone kind of knows better than you do, and which is beautiful and whatever. We all go through it, even in one lifetime. And then it's like we are reactivated up to the point of wisdom we've gained from all these other incarnations. And it's like, oh yeah. And so it becomes really pertinent along the spiritual path that we are trusting our own inner guide, our own inner voice, above anything else, right? Even if like tens of thousands spiritual teachers say this is how it is, but your own experience has shown you that it's like maybe not that way, and it's another way. Trust that when and if that's meant to like be corrected, it will be. And all paths lead home at the end of the day. And so it's important to find your path, and it's important to merge more with your path, and the wisdom of your own higher self, because that's ultimately how we merge in union. That's ultimately how we progress on this path, is by trusting ourselves, our own higher self, more than anything else. That's a journey we're all on. So I hope this brings you clarity, confirmation, and peace, group number 1. If this was your group today, let's go ahead and leave. Look at the wisdom of Saturn. Let's leave the wisdom of the planet Saturn down below, please. And yeah, if there's nothing else you want to comment about, like what part of your life in particular this pertains to, then yeah, just like this video. If it did bring you value, please, this all helps other people receive these messages when and if they need them. And I hope to see you guys soon. What's up, group number 2? This is your reading. What phase is ending in your life? There are 2 main aspects to this reading. The first is the phase that's coming to an end, and the next aspect is what door will be opened in its place. Okay, so there's a lot of layered meanings here, or a lot of possibilities of like different ways this could apply. So I'm going to try to keep it as general as I can. But if I'm starting to use like some analogies of like one area of life, of like love, for example, just like try to apply those analogies to other places, if it resonates. So overall, I'm getting the sense that the main phase that's ending is there's repetitive messages here, my friend, about not letting others decide for you who you came here to be. And I feel like you guys have been in a phase of really needing to get honest about who you are, and where you're going and who you're becoming. And doing so from the lens of what actually sets you free and what actually feels right to you. And so I feel like that's something that you're stepping into, is like what actually sets you free and aligning with those realities externally. Because it seems like the phase that's ending is you doing this work and maybe like upsetting people along the way, for being your true self, or for like having opinions that don't necessarily align with their opinions. I am getting the sense that maybe you guys have been like coming out of your people pleasing sense of self, and it's kind of rubbed some people the wrong way because they're kind of used to, you know, being able to bulldoze your sense of truth with theirs. And a lot of the times I don't even think this is something that is consciously happening. I feel it's just how people protect their lens of perception and their reality as they know it. As if for some reason people start to tell them that there's a different way of seeing things, there's a different way of living, it starts to impact and influence the solidity that their foundation is built upon. And it can make them, if they're very attached to their ideas being truthful and not seeing that, no, this is relative truth, right? And that this doesn't have to apply to everyone, and doesn't have to, someone else disagreeing doesn't have to be a feeling of threat, doesn't have to be a threat to my own reality. I feel like the more attached someone is to that way of thinking, the more their ego's involved, right? And so the more we're gonna feel like we're bumping up against really sharp edges, versus someone whose ego is not necessarily as involved in being right. Other people's ideas and the lens that they see from doesn't threaten their reality. And that takes a really, you know, kind of like an old soul, like an older soul, a wiser being, to be able to, you know, hold that kind of space for others. And so, yeah, with, you know, these two cards represent like a peak. Like this is like a pinnacle to me. Another word for that could be the peak, right? You're reaching your peak, and the gibbous moon is about like, it's almost complete, right? It's almost at its peak brightness. And so, and we have the lovers, which represents like, can represent a choice to take or something in our, you know, it's like, I'm just seeing that the way you're making decisions is changing, and it's going from a lens of what will other people think of me? What will my family think of me? And it's being filtered through like what actually sets me on fire and what brings me alive. You're definitely stepping into someone that is able to navigate conflict from a way that it's like you're not reactive, right? The king has a lot of fire. The king is definitely very like set in how, like in their reality, right? Definitely someone that is like an expert in their field. In this case, the wands is spirit, right? And so I feel like this is all to say that you're learning how to hold space for other people's realities and other people's opinions while not taking it so personally. And I do feel too that there's been you learning how to say no to things that are okay, that, you know, people, situations, offers that might check a few boxes, but maybe something within your heart of hearts, like it might check the boxes that, like, for example, if your family has an idea of the person you should marry, and it's like you meet this person that's like, you know, embodies this person, they check all the boxes that your family's like, yep, this is what they should meet. But something feels off about it, and you say no, it's like you're getting even closer to what it is that you truly want by saying no to those things that just like don't meet the mark. And you don't really know what it is about them, but they just don't meet the mark. It's because that's your internal compass being like closer, but not exactly. It's like that game that you play where it's like hot and cold, where it's like cold, cold, cold. You're getting colder, freezing. And then it's like, okay, warm. You're warming up. Hot, hot. You're on fire. You're on fire. You know, that kind of thing. So I feel like you guys have been in this phase or are in a phase of like saying no to things or learning how to like invest your energy more wisely. And maybe your external reality hasn't really like presented to you the fruits of those efforts. And so I feel like what's opening, because you've been doing this inner work and you've been really setting like those boundaries, those spiritual boundaries, and not settling and not basing your decisions on what everyone else is doing or what everyone else expects of you. I feel like there's some big changes that are getting ready to come into your life. And it's like, I really am getting a sense of like dreaminess, right? A sense of like a happily ever after, like too good to be true kind of energy that you're stepping into, where you are your own sense of authority. You're not questioning yourself, and you're not like letting people walk all over you, or, you know, you're letting people have their opinions while still, you know, I keep hearing the words solidarity. You're still staying true in who it is that you came here to be. And yeah, I feel like there might be a certain area of that. When it says you're close to achieving your goal, this is interesting because like the pinnacle also talks about like we made it, the sense of like we finally got there. And this gives me a sense of like a really dreamy sense, right? And so I really do feel like you guys have been doing a lot of like internal work, a lot of shadow work, a lot of growth, a lot of growing, undoing things from the past, you know, seeing how certain things and relationships and people in your life affected you and how it kind of like left an imprint on you. And maybe to some degree too, there's a sense of like not being able to like pull your sense of identity away from your family or like how they've seen you or the people around you, how they've seen you. And so, yeah, I feel like it's, this goal might even be like moving to a new place or getting an opportunity that like, allows you to go through this kind of, I am getting major rebirth energies that allows you to kind of like get clear in your own self. And for some of you, you've already been doing that. You know, this is the phase, is like taking time away from those people that are not okay with you becoming your own person, even if they haven't said this. Maybe it's just like an assumption you've had. It's just a feeling you get of like, wow, my truth is not honored here. My truth is not welcome here. And so it's like, yeah, I feel like you're learning to put your own perspectives and your own opinions of yourself above what other people, the opinions of other people. And because so it's almost like the thing, like the respect you were maybe subconsciously trying to get from your family, the understanding you were trying to get from your friends or whatever, you know, the way that you were trying to get the world to like see you, and how it was maybe going through, a disempowered way of doing so. It's like by you just being like, this is who I am. And, you know, I'm just going to stand true in this. And, you know, I'm not going to filter myself anymore. It's almost like you're finally getting that respect, and you're finally merging with that reality and that timeline that like you deserve as a human, as an incarnated being, but it's through a much more empowered way. And yeah, I feel like, yeah, you making your choices and your decisions, that how you're making them is a lot different. This new phase you're stepping into, it's like you're only aligning to those things that truly set your soul on fire. You're only aligning to those things that on every level lights up your spirit, right? Your being. And yeah, there's definitely, this is like a big, excuse me, I'm sorry, my voice is so raspy, but this is definitely big energy, right? We have these are the three main cards of this reading, and these are just a supplemental information. Okay, but you have three major arcana as like the main energy. And so this is definitely a big phase. And just keep in heart that just because like you've made this huge transition or that space is coming to an end doesn't mean you might still not get like a little bit of like some like reflections, or it might still, as the karma is running itself out, like you could have shifted into a new timeline, which I'm seeing you're shifting into a much more empowered timeline, where you know who you are and you're navigating your life from that lens, and you're not people pleasing or accommodating other people. You're just like being firm in who you are. And because so like the life of your dreams is flooding in, and like the goals, the things you set out to achieve, like happen much easier because it's in alignment with like your energy and like who you came to be. So of course, like when you're just like allowing that stream, when you're not your own block to those things that are meant for you, like I've seen you've been in the past, you know, it's it's effortlessly seeming manifestation, which is not really what it is. It's just you getting out of your own way, right? You releasing how you think you should be and just being who it is you came here to be. And so, you know, it's much easier for those things that resonate to the core of your being and who you came here to be to come to you. And so, yeah, I'm just getting the sense that it's much easier. It seems like you're not even having to lift a finger in this new phase that you're getting into. Whereas before, it might have just seemed like you were bumping into like a bunch of corners and just things maybe just like felt off, right, in general. But now, I just see it's very empowering. This new phase that you're entering, where it's less questioning of yourself and questioning of who it is you came here to be, and not really caring as much. Like, it's very empowering, not caring about how people see you. And, you know, that's the greatest teacher that we can have in this life. And I just see you making decisions differently, carrying yourself differently, and letting go of those old perceptions, those old versions of self that maybe others are still attached to some degree. And really not looking back, essentially, like on the things that you've left behind, the versions of the self that you've been, because you kind of recognize those were just protection mechanisms. Those were, you know, protecting this core of who it is that you are, because it never felt safe for you to fully show up as your true self. And you're like shedding those layers. You've been in the process of shedding those layers. And so now it's like, rebirth. Maybe you haven't been around your family or someone or certain people for a while. And you've been kind of taking space from someone or a group of people or something for a while. And now it's like, I'm getting this sense of like, okay, like someone coming back into the picture. It's interesting. These are very similar. I'm just seeing how these are like kind of similar images. It's like now you're coming back into the picture, but from a much different place, and people can't quite put their finger on it because it seems like you're the same. It seems like you're the same person, but you've clearly gone through many like transformations. You've gone through many changes, and I feel like they won't be able to put their finger on it because for the most part, it's been very internal. It's like the place you're sitting from is much different. It's like you went from like, you know, standing on ground to sitting on your throne, right? This is powerful, and I do hope you guys the best. But overall, to close this, I feel like, you're just on a threshold is what I'm getting. And very, very soon, I feel like there's going to be a lot of physical manifestations and physical reminders and shifts, like big shifts in your life that are reflective of this kind of internalized upgrading and all of these activations and shifts that you've been making, all the work you've been doing, essentially. You're going to see that more and more, and better things are to come. Great things are in store. And I do see you as someone that is just taking the lead in your life and that many people admire and aspire to be like. So group 2, I'm going to leave this reading here for now. If this was your reading, let's leave a feather. Is there a feather emoji? Because I just keep seeing these wings. If not a feather, let's leave a dove to symbolize, on one of my favorite decks, the Kim Kren's deck has a dove that symbolizes judgment, or a bunch of doves. So if there's nothing else you want to say, and like to share with the fam, and if you did get value from this, please like the video, and I hope to see you guys soon. Much love. What's up, group number 3? Welcome to your reading. This is about what phase in your life is ending. Okay, so there are 2 aspects to these readings today. The first is the phase that's coming to an end, and the next is the door that will be opened in its place. So it's really clear that you guys have been in a period where you're really focused on yourself, and you're focused on what lights you up, what brings you joy, the things that you're passionate about, and you've been really in your own bubble for the most part. And this is not to say that you're not going out with people and you're not like in contact with people in your day to day, I just feel like you've been going through a lot of like internalizations, internal upgrades. You know, Wands is the family of spirit. And so I feel like you've been going through a lot of spiritual upgrades and realizations, awakenings, and really doing your best to cultivate your own safe inner space, your own sanctity, your own sanctuary, and just really focusing on self-care. And I feel like you might have been in the cocoon phase, and now you are in the phase of, you know, spreading your wings and coming out of the cocoon, and you know, the butterfly phase. It's really clear phases, right? It's really not only the topic of today, but it's something that is accentuated. I feel like maybe something that like brought you into this phase of self-reflection as you reached burnout, right? What comes before the Ace of Wands? We've had the 10, right? And so I feel like you've been in your own bubble, maybe because you were overextending yourself and doing a lot for others, and maybe not putting your own self first. And maybe something just came to a point where there was a straw that finally broke the camel's back. And so you were really focusing on yourself. Can't help but feel that too, there's been like a desire for some sort of like newness in your life, some sort of community. What's the goal of the entire journey of the minor arcana is to go from the Ace to the 10, right? And so we just need one pentacle here to get to the 10, right? And so it's like you've been cultivating, focusing on yourself for some time. And so in order to get to that 10, in order to get to the community, and you're sharing your abundance with others, etc., we just need one pentacle, a new start. And I feel like that's kind of the door that's being opened, is you learning how to like share your pentacles wisely, and who is worth it to invest into, or the timelines that are worth it to invest into. There's a lot of fire here with the solar flares and the Ace of Wands. So I feel like you have a lot to share, but maybe in the past you were sharing those things, those resources, whether they be financial resources or just like energetic resources, with the wrong people, or maybe there was like bad spending habits or something like that. And there's something here about like growth, right? It's very clear that you've matured in your ability to extend your resources wisely. Can't help but notice too, we have the 4 of Pentacles here for what door is being opened. And this is not necessarily about being stingy, but it's just about being more mindful about how you're spending, right? And how do we get to the 10? How do we get to the 10 from the 4? We need that 6 of Pentacles energy, which is about being around other people that give to you just as much as you give to them. And being around people that don't drain you. Justice also suggests that too, but it's also saying that just be aware that what you weave today, what you sow today, is what you are going to reap tomorrow. And whether this has to do energetically, whether this has to do with your attitudes towards people, whatever it is, financial resources, etc. There's something here about, a new beginning that you're not like waiting for, that you're not holding back on, with being bold and making the first move. And solar flares gives a similar energy of like going out and not waiting for things to happen, but kind of like being the person to initiate. You went from this very feminine energy of being in the cocoon to now being in this like bolder, just more aware of navigating life and how you want to navigate life. I am just getting a heightened sense of awareness and just like kind of caution, right? 4 is a card of caution, or 4s in the tarot represent caution, and just like not even in the sense of like needing, like actually having things to be cautious about, but just like a heightened sense of awareness of how you're expending your energy, how you're expending your resources. And so I feel like there is just, if there's been anything that, you feel like you've been excited to like invest in, like an opportunity you've been excited to invest in, or maybe it's like, you're used to things kind of coming to you, or you're used to like life, bringing opportunities to you that are like in your face, obvious, like someone like verbalizing and like blatantly offering you a job, for example, or like, hey, do you want to go take this class with me? That kind of thing, versus like you're really interested in like breathwork, for example. I'm just using this symbol or this analogy is what I'm seeing in my mind's eye, so it's what I'm going to use. But this time last year, I kept I like had this really deep desire to like want to deepen my own knowledge and understanding of breathwork and meditation. And I've known for like a couple years before that I wanted to at some point start offering breathwork and meditation, specifically breathwork, to other people, because it had transformed my life so much. And I kept getting these little subtle signs of that. And I kept seeing, like, I kept having like different programs show up in my Facebook feed. And and so I had to make an initial investment of, a good chunk of money that, like, at a time I wasn't working or anything, but I just like had some savings, and it was like a short-term risk for long-term payoff, that kind of thing. And it was like, I had to make the first move. I had to be the one that's like taking my life in my own hands, and just like the direction that I see my life wanting to go. And I'm kind of getting something similar, like being in your own bubble for a while, your own cocoon. And it's like, okay, now we're ready to kind of get things moving in a new direction. And just knowing that the seeds you plant today, you're not going to see instant fruitage from that, but the fruits will be there. You can ensure that the fruits will be there. So I'm kind of getting maybe something similar, where there's like a course that you want to invest in, or something that you've been working on within yourself, or something that's brought you to this place of clarity within yourself. And that really lights you on fire. The things that you've been studying, maybe in some way there's something that you can lean into, or like a program or a teaching or something, or like you're going to a workshop, or, something like that, where it's like you're being activated in this new direction. You're being encouraged to use your gifts and to funnel your gifts and your energy in this direction, and just being wise of like what you're pouring your energy into, and not waiting for life to kind of like make these obvious things. And it's interesting too, because actually, like, when I look back, life had to be very obvious in the past, but the more I focused on my own internal self and my own spiritual journey, it's like the signs were less loud, like maybe in comparison to the past, but they were just as noticeable, if that makes sense, because like my perception was just growing, and I was able to see more with less evidence, I guess. And I guess that's what the whole journey is about. Like, you don't need those loud wake-up calls or the loud and big and bold statements from the universe. They can be really small synchronicities that you see, really small, maybe from the outside looking in, or someone being like, wow, you made a decision because you saw a butterfly pass by a license plate that says 444 on it or something. And you took that, those are two main signs, and you took that as like confirmation, right? It's like, you're speaking your own language with the universe, kind of thing. And I feel like that's all to say you've been kind of getting downloads or ideas of how to be more externalized and more involved in your life in a way that, like, there's so much here about Pentacles, so I can't help but to see that this has something to do with what you're giving to the world and what you're extending to the world, and doing the right thing, right? And just knowing too that sometimes when it comes to justice, it like might not make sense at first of like why we're being pulled in a certain direction, and to not let the emotions that might be tied to making this type of investment, whether it has to do with money or not, but just like investment of your energy or like a new direction in life, but you just, for whatever reason, feel like this is the right thing to do, doing that thing. And again, you're gonna, the universe is gonna see that, right? And I can't help it but be drawn. I was noticing the Saturn when I was looking at this card. It's really sticking out. I didn't notice it before, but this can talk about just like tough lessons, and things that, like, Saturn is all about growing us up, right? When we have our first Saturn return, that's like the initiation into adulthood, where we're really taking our life seriously. We're taking our gifts seriously, what it is we came here to do seriously. We're not taking these things for granted as much. It's like kind of like a rude awakening. It can be when we're still relying on other people to take care of us, or we're not fully committed or devoted to our path of growth and becoming the person that we came here to be, right? Saturn can be kind of bitter in its lessons, but it always brings many blessings along with it. And so I feel like, there's this is definitely you emerging from the cocoon and learning how to be like I don't want to say an adult, like you haven't, but just the way that you carry yourself differently, and the investments you're making, the things you're sowing into is definitely changing. Like priorities shifting is kind of what I'm getting with between Saturn, the initiation into maturity, greater maturity. And this new direction that life is kind of like easing you into. It's like you have worked for the 9, right? And what's going to keep you away from, I'm just like seeing the 5 of Pentacles in relation to the 4 of Pentacles. And it's like, maybe in the past we were not as conscientious of who we were giving our energy and our resources to. And maybe we were just like aligning with paths that just led to a dead end, right? That led to that 5 of Pentacles kind of energy, feeling misunderstood, left out in the cold, etc. And so now you've kind of cultivated this 9 for yourself. And in order to keep you from, falling back into the 5 energy, it's like, okay, we're going to be much more wise with our money. We're going to be much more wise with who we're sowing into, what we're sowing into. And it might be a little bit different and just like feel off just because it's just different for us to like move in this way, but the rewards are going to be very beautiful. And this is just about saying no when you mean it, saying yes when you mean it. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a no kind of thing. And I feel like you're taking a lot of wisdom from this cocoon period that you've been in, and actually operating from that level of awareness and that level of wisdom, because it's one thing to like have an awareness of things like cognitive, right, on a cognitive level, versus like actually embodying it. And I feel like you guys are the butterfly actually embodying these things. And so if people are like, like, why are you like, you're not someone I can take advantage of as much or as easily anymore. It's like, not taking that personally, not taking that feedback to heart. Being much more wise stewards of your resources on every level. And taking those risks, those short-term risks that might be a little bit scary to your current modality, your current reality, just the baseline that you're at right now. And just, doing those things, not maybe because it makes sense to anyone else, but because you just know like, okay, this is my right direction. This is my right path. This is where I'm supposed to be going. And, I'm going to take my life in my own hands. That's what it's all about, my friends. If this was your reading today, let's leave a sword down below, or the scales in the comment section if there's nothing else you want to share about like what life area of your life this pertains to. And I hope this brought clarity, confirmation, and peace to your heart, my friends. Much love.